Chapter 25. He tried calling Samantha the next morning, but the line was busy, and stayed busy for hours. When he called again after lunch, the phone rang, and no one answered. The rain stopped just before noon, and a bright sun burned through the clouds. Bobby's parents were at work. He had the house to himself. He hoped that the quiet would help him concentrate on his book report. He quickly found that he was too upset, too confused, to write a single sentence. He tried mowing the backyard, thinking a little physical exercise might help him forget about the Wades, about Jenny Lind and her angry threat. But the grass was still wet from the night's downpour, too wet to mow. When one of the Wade sisters pulled up in the driveway in her parents' white convertible at a little after 5, Bobby was almost relieved. At last I can get some answers, he thought. He ran down the driveway to greet her. She had the top down. He recognized the magenta sleeveless midriff and knew for sure it was Samantha. Bree never dressed that boldly. "Hey, how'd you get the car? I thought you didn't have a license," he called. She laughed. "My parents weren't home," she explained, "so I took it." He leaned against the side of her car. "I've been calling you, Sam. I have to talk to you. I have to talk to you, too," she interrupted. She motioned to the passenger side. "Get in. I'll take you for a ride." Bobby crossed to the other side of the car and reluctantly climbed in. "You're not going to drive like a maniac, are you?" She grinned at him. "Fasten your seatbelt," she said. A few minutes later, they were speeding along Old Mill Road, heading out of town. A cool wind blew over them as the sun began to descend behind the trees. "Jenny Lind called me last night," Bobby told her, shouting over the roar of the wind. Samantha kept her eyes on the road. "You mean Bree," she shouted back. "It had to be Bree." "She said she was Jenny Lind. She said—" "I really can't hear you," Samantha shouted, placing her right hand on his to stop him from talking. "We'll have to talk when we get to the cabin." "The cabin?" He stared at her in surprise. "We need a private place," she said, "to talk." She pressed harder on the gas pedal as the houses became sparser and endless flat fields came into view. Still wet from the rain, the fields glistened under the red sun as if covered with sparkling emeralds. The wind roared over the windshield. Bobby settled back in his seat. He glanced at Samantha. Her eyes were narrowed. He leaned forward, about to turn on the radio. The wind was blowing the strap of her midriff. Bobby nearly fell off his seat when he spotted the tiny blue butterfly tattoo on her left shoulder. "The tattoo!" he cried, grabbing her right shoulder. "You have the tattoo!" She turned to glance at him, a surprised frown on her face. "Of course. What's wrong with you?" But, Bobby sputtered. "You didn't have it in the mall parking lot yesterday afternoon." "What?" Samantha raised a hand. "I don't think I'm hearing you right. I wasn't at the mall yesterday. I didn't see you yesterday, Bobby." She swerved into the left lane to pass an enormous truck. It blared its horn at her as she zoomed past. Bobby covered his ears until they were past the truck. "You've always had the tattoo?" he shouted over the wind. She nodded. "What is your problem? I showed it to you in the science lab, remember?" The woods came into view. Samantha turned onto the dirt road that led to the cabin. As they began to bump over the road, dark shadows rolled over the open car. Bobby realized he was breathing hard. His temples throbbed. He felt dizzy. Was it just the wind battering him? "You did talk to me about killing Bree, didn't you?" he blurted out. Samantha turned to him with a devilish grin. "I have it all worked out," she said, her eyes flashing. "She won't know what hit her." Chapter 26. Bobby shut his eyes. Is this really happening? He wondered. The car bumped along under the thickening canopy of trees. Then it jerked to a stop. Bobby opened his eyes. He saw the cabin, hidden in shadow. The tall, old trees blanketed the sky, making it nearly as dark as night. Lost in his confused thoughts, Bobby didn't move. He suddenly felt Samantha squeeze his arm. He raised his eyes to her. Her black hair was wild around her face. The wind had reddened her cheeks. "Let's go inside," she said softly. "We have to talk." He nodded. "Yeah, we really have to." He climbed out of the car and started to make his way over the wet grass to the cabin. He took a deep breath. The air smelled fresh and sweet. He saw thousands of tiny white gnats dancing in a slender shaft of orange sunlight. He heard the car door open, then slam shut. Samantha must have forgotten something in the car, he thought. He watched a chipmunk scampering along a fallen tree trunk. "Samantha?" He turned to the car, in time to see her lift an empty Coke bottle. "Samantha? Hey!" He didn't have time to duck. She hit him over the head with the bottle. The sound it made was only a dull thud, but the pain shot through Bobby's body as if a bomb had exploded in his head. Everything went bright white, then the blackest black. Chapter 27. The harsh red swirls of light faded to pink, then white. Light filtered in, misty and gray. Purple clouds floated in a bubbling red sky. Bobby opened his eyes. The pain, the throbbing pain in his head, forced him to shut them again. Eyes closed, he tried to stand up. Something held him back. He tried to raise his arms. Something held him down. I'm paralyzed, he realized, beginning to think clearly. She paralyzed me. He forced his eyes open. He uttered a soft moan. The gray mist lifted. The cabin room came slowly into focus. I'm sitting up, he realized. Again he tried to stand. Again something restrained him. I'm sitting in a chair. I'm tied up. I'm tied to the chair. He struggled to kick his feet. They were tied too. My hands and feet, tied to this wooden chair. Hey! He managed to choke out a cry. Is that really my voice? So thin, so weak? He lowered his head. The throbbing pain lightened a little when he lowered his head. Oh! He saw his bare knees. His jeans were gone. So were his socks and sneakers. He was tied to the chair in his t-shirt and striped boxer shorts. A low fire crackled in the narrow fireplace. He stared across the room at it. My jeans? Yes, his jeans were burning in the fireplace. Samantha stood by the fireplace, her arms crossed in front of her. Her green eyes caught the glow of the small fire. Samantha, why? Bobby choked out. I'm not Samantha, she said softly. Keeping her arms crossed, she took a couple of steps toward him. I'm Jenny Lynn. Bobby shook his head. The pain that shot through his body made him cry out. No, you're not. There is no Jenny Lynn, he shouted. Stop lying to me, Samantha. Is that what they told you? She asked, her eyes flashing with anger. Did they tell you I don't exist? She uttered a low cry of disgust. My sweet sisters would love to believe I don't exist, she told him, practically spitting the words. Stop, please, Bobby begged. I'm the bad one, she continued heatedly, ignoring his plea. I'm the dangerous one, the one they sent away. They pretend I don't exist, but I'm real, Bobby. I'm real. Okay, you're real, staring up into her angry face. I'm sorry. I didn't know. I'm the one with a tattoo, she cried, revealing the blue butterfly. I was the one in the science lab, not Samantha or Bree. Do you really think those two pitiful wimps would ever have the nerve to get a tattoo? No way. Only Jenny Lynn. Only the bad sister would do that. Okay, I get it, Bobby replied softly. The pain in his head had started to fade. He was starting to see clearly, to think clearly. Staring across the room, he saw his jeans smoldering in the fireplace. Let me go now, he pleaded, staring into her cold, narrowed eyes. Let me go, Jenny Lynn. I haven't done anything to you. She scowled and stepped back to the fireplace. My two pretty sisters. They like you so much, she said, rolling her eyes. She stabbed at the smoking remains of the jeans with the iron poker. Why should they be happy? But listen to me, Bobby started. Why? She cried. I don't want them to be happy. So? She raised the heavy poker and pointed it at him. So they have to say goodbye to you. An evil smile crossed her face. Goodbye, she chanted. Goodbye, Bobby. Jenny Lynn, wait, he pleaded. What are you going to do? She set down the poker without replying. She stepped behind him. He struggled to turn in the chair to see what she was about to do, but he was tied too tightly. Suddenly, he felt something wet on his hair, wet and thick. It ran down the sides of his head, down his cheeks. He felt it on his shoulders now. Jenny Lynn, what are you doing? What is it? He demanded shrilly. She came around in front of him, carrying a large metal can in both hands. It's honey, honey, she whispered, smiling merrily at him. She tilted the can up and let the thick, yellow honey ooze down onto his lap. She poured it down his legs. The sweet smell invaded his nostrils. The sticky liquid rolled down his forehead. He blinked to keep it out of his eyes. No, please! He twisted hard in the chair, struggled to tear free, to kick out at her, but the ropes were too tight. He couldn't move. Humming to herself, she poured it onto his bare feet. There, all covered, she said softly, standing up and flashing him another smile. Aren't you the sweetest thing? Panic tightened Bobby's chest. What are you going to do? He managed to cry. Then, on the floor in front of the doorway, he noticed a glass case of red ants. Chapter 28. Oh, you've seen them, Jenny Lynn said with mock sadness. I'm disappointed. I wanted the cannibal ants to be a surprise. How did you? Bobby guessed. I mean, you're not going to. She set the honey can down and stood in front of him, arms at her waist, admiring her work. My sister's science project is turning out to be more useful than she ever imagined. Jenny Lynn, don't, Bobby protested in a trembling voice. She laughed as she headed over to the doorway and picked up the glass case. But Bobby, I brought the little guys all the way out here, and they must be hungry, don't you think? Bobby squirmed and strained against the ropes. The sticky honey oozed over his entire body. Every part of him itched. But he ignored the itching as he watched her carry the glass case over, close enough to see the hundreds of red ants swarming inside. Ants like honey, I think, Jenny Lind said cheerily. No, please, no! She lifted off the glass top and set it on the cabin floor. Then she squatted on her knees in front of Bobby. Please, Jenny Lind, please, don't! Holding it with both hands, she tilted the case. Bending his head down, Bobby gaped in horror as the red ants flooded onto his feet. Jenny Lind raised the glass case a bit and poured more ants onto his legs. Stop, please, he shrieked. She raised the case higher still to empty it on his shoulders and hair. Bobby, you're completely covered, she cried in mock surprise. Oh boy, look at them go for that honey. 1,000 pinpricks of pain made Bobby squirm in agony. They're biting me! Help me, Jenny Lind, Bobby begged. Please, they're biting me! The ants swarmed over Bobby's body, stuck to him in the thick honey. Please, help me! It hurts so much, Bobby cried. Try screaming, Jenny Lind advised coldly. She set down the case. Screaming might make you feel better. She made her way to the door, pushed it open, then turned back to him. Go ahead, scream, and don't worry about disturbing the neighbors. There aren't any. With a gleeful laugh, she disappeared through the door. Squirming and twisting from the 1,000 sharp stings of pain all over his body, Bobby had no choice but to follow her advice. He opened his mouth and started to scream. Chapter 29. My neck! They're biting my neck! The red ants swarmed over his entire body, down his back, under his arms. He watched the ants slide over the oozing honey, felt 1,000 stabs of pain as they chewed. Squirming and straining, moaning in pain, Bobby felt his chest tighten. He gasped for air. I can't breathe! He struggled to free himself. He thrust his body to one side and cried even louder as the wooden chair toppled over. Lying on his side in a puddle of warm honey, he thrashed and kicked. Ants crawled up his neck. He felt their tiny feet under his chin. He spit hard, blowing them off his lips. But as he gasped for air, some of them crawled into his open mouth. Oh, oh, oh. He made low, moaning sounds without even hearing himself. As he squirmed in agony, he thought he could feel each ant bite, thousands of them at once. They bit the soles of his feet, the backs of his knees, under his arms. Oh, oh. Lying on his side, he thrashed and squirmed, pulling at the ropes for hours. At least it seemed like hours. Ants crawled into his ears, onto his eyelids, up his nose. Oh, oh. Little animal moans escaped his parched throat as he struggled and tugged, but the honey made the rope sticky, harder to budge. Then, suddenly, one foot fell free. He didn't believe it at first. He kicked forward. Yes! Lying on his side, he twisted around, and slid the other foot free. Jenny Lind flunks at knot tying, he thought. If they hadn't been coated with honey, I could have pulled them free a long time ago. Panting loudly, he struggled to his knees. His chest felt about to explode. The ants climbed around his neck. He felt their prickly legs inside his ears and on his scalp. Oh, oh, oh. Frantically, he slid his hands free. Ah, yes, yes. And then he began furiously trying to brush the ants away. He rubbed his face, his forehead, slapped at the backs of his knees, desperately brushed them off his arms and legs. I'll never stop itching. Never. He had to get out of there. Had to get help. He lurched around the tiny cabin, searching for his socks and sneakers. Gone. They were gone. Forget them, he muttered to himself. Got to get out. Get to the road. Get help. His heart thudding in his chest, he turned and started to the door. Ow! He slipped on a puddle of thick honey and fell, landing hard on his back and one elbow. Got to get out. Got to get out. He scrambled to his feet, threw himself out the door. Dark out now. Dark and cool. How long has he been in there? The soft grass stuck to his sticky feet as he ran toward the dirt road. Got to get help. Got to get a ride. Get home. Ow! A rock cut into his foot, but he kept moving over the grass, still brushing away ants, his hands sticky and wet from the thick honey that covered his skin, his t-shirt, and boxer shorts. He had only gone a short distance on the dirt road when he saw the twin beams of white light, headlights. Car headlights bouncing up the road, coming toward him. Oh no. He knew at once that Jenny Lind was returning. Chapter 30. Should he run? Try to hide in the woods? There wasn't time. Bobby shielded his eyes from the bright headlights as the car screeched to a halt in front of him. Hey, Bobby, is that you? The voice that called to him. It wasn't Jenny Lynn. Bobby, what are you doing here? Still shielding his eyes, he watched a lone figure leap out of the car and come jogging over to him. Bobby, are you okay? Melanie, he cried. I don't believe it. How? Bobby, what happened to you? In the light from the headlights, he saw her expression turn to horror. What's that stuff all over you? Your pants. Where are your pants? Jenny Lynn, he gasped weakly. Jenny Lynn, she... Oh, wow. Melanie shook her head, still staring in disbelief at him. Get in the car, quick, I'll get you to a hospital. No, I'm okay. No hospital, Bobby insisted breathlessly. We've got to go to the police. Jenny Lynn, she's dangerous. Okay, Melanie agreed. Wait, I have some beach towels in the trunk. Let me spread them on the seat. Don't sit down. She turned to the trunk and opened it. What is that all over you? Honey, he told her. His words caught in his throat. He couldn't say any more. A few seconds later, he was leaning back against the towel Melanie had spread over the passenger seat. How did you find me? He asked. Melanie stared straight ahead, guiding the car over the dirt road to the highway. I wasn't looking for you, she explained. I was helping Samantha and Bree. They're home alone, and their convertible was stolen this afternoon. They were pretty sure that Jenny Lynn had taken it. They asked me to help look for it. I remember that Jenny Lynn used to like hanging out at the family cabin, so you finally admit there is a Jenny Lynn, Bobby murmured bitterly. Yeah, I admit it, Melanie replied softly. I'm sorry, Bobby. Really, I apologize. But I promised Bree and Samantha I wouldn't say anyone about their third sister. I guess it's too late for secrets now. Bobby was quiet, watching the dark fields roll by. You really are a sticky mess, she commented without smiling. He scratched his leg. I can't stop itching. I don't think I'll ever stop. We'll go straight to the police station, Melanie said. She turned to him. Or do you think we should warn Bree and Samantha first? Bobby thought about it. They might be in danger, he said softly. Jenny Lynn is really dangerous. Crazy and dangerous. Maybe we'd better warn Bree and Samantha and then go to the police, Melanie suggested. Yeah, okay, good idea. Melanie and Bobby both uttered worried cries when they saw the white convertible parked in the street in front of the Wade's house. The car, it's back. Do you think Jenny Lynn is already here? Melanie asked, her voice trembling. She pushed open the car door. Hurry, Bobby, we may be too late. They ran up the front walk. The living room drapes were pulled shut. The house was completely dark. Grass stuck to the soles of Bobby's feet. He pulled his boxer shorts up higher. They were sticky and heavy with honey. Bobby, I'm so frightened, Melanie whispered. She pushed open the front door without knocking, and they burst inside. As they made their way to the living room, Bobby heard voices. A square of light angled out into the hallway. Bobby lurched into the living room. Jenny Lynn is here, he shouted to warn Bree and Samantha. Look out! Jenny Lynn! Samantha and Bree jumped up in surprise. Bobby, what on earth? Samantha cried, staring at him in disbelief. You're not dressed. Bobby heard shocked laughter. He gazed in astonishment around the room. Samantha and Bree were not alone. On the couch he saw Ronnie and Kimmy. Several other girls were seated on the floor. They were all staring at him in amazement, staring at his honey-drenched body, at his stained t-shirt and boxer shorts. The clumps of grass stuck to his bare feet. He opened his mouth to speak, but no sound came out. What on earth is going on here? A man's voice broke the shocked silence. Mr. Wade strode into the living room. Bobby, what happened to you? He demanded. It's Jenny Lynn. She kidnapped me, Bobby told him breathlessly. She's here now, in your house. Mr. Wade made a bewildered face. Who? Your other daughter, Jenny Lynn. She's back, Bobby cried. Mr. Wade's confused expression didn't change. He stared hard into Bobby's eyes. If this is some kind of joke or prank, I really don't get it, Bobby. Have you been drinking or something? It's no joke, Bobby cried desperately. Jenny Lynn is back, Mr. Wade. You don't have to pretend she doesn't exist. I saw her. She kidnapped me. I'm sorry. I really don't have time for this, Mr. Wade replied impatiently. Who is this Jenny Lynn? The third sister, Bobby insisted, breathing hard. The girls don't have a third sister, Mr. Wade replied curtly. Bobby heard embarrassed laughter in the room. He glanced around again and recognized more faces. What's going on here? He asked himself. It looks like every girl I ever dated and dumped is in this room. Wait, Mr. Wade, Bobby pleaded. She took me to your cabin. Jenny Lynn did. She dumped cannibal ants on me. She... Huh? What kind of ants? Mr. Wade demanded. Cannibal ants, Bobby cried breathlessly. Mr. Wade frowned. There's no such thing as cannibal ants. But, Bobby stammered, hearing more laughter in the room. You can check your cabin if you don't believe me. Mr. Wade's eyes narrowed. His confusion was quickly turning to anger. Bobby, we don't own any cabin, and the girls don't have a third sister. You're not making any sense. Bobby had a sudden flash of memory. He remembered having to break into the cabin the first time he was there. Was it possible it didn't belong to the Wades? Where is this cabin? Mr. Wade demanded suspiciously. I don't know, Bobby stammered. In the woods, on a dirt road. He turned desperately to Melanie, who had joined Ronnie and Kimmy on the couch. Melanie knows. Tell him where it is, Bobby pleaded. I'm sorry, Bobby, Melanie replied softly. I don't know anything about a cabin. Huh? Bobby guessed in shock. You're lying. Lying! Take it easy, Bobby, Mr. Wade urged. If you've been drinking, we'd better get you home. He turned to his two daughters. Do either of you know what Bobby is talking about? No, Daddy, Bree replied quickly. Samantha shrugged. Beats me. They're lying, Bobby screamed. Listen to me. Maybe there isn't a Jenny Lynn, but one of them drove me to a cabin. Stop right there, Mr. Wade interrupted. Bree and Samantha don't have driver's licenses yet. One of them drove me, Bobby insisted. The one with the tattoo. The one with the tattoo. She kidnapped me and... Tattoo. Mr. Wade's voice boomed loud in the small living room. They'd better not have any tattoo. Look at their shoulders, Bobby urged desperately, pointing at the two girls. The one with the tattoo. She did it. Let me see your shoulders, girls, Mr. Wade ordered sternly. Daddy, this is silly, Bree said. Bobby has totally lost it. All this crazy talk about a third sister and cannibal aunts, Samantha muttered. He needs help, Dad. He really needs help. Both girls obediently lowered the collars of their t-shirts. No tattoos. The phone rang. Bobby, you better get home and get cleaned up, Mr. Wade said sternly. He hurried away to answer the phone. You did this to me, Bobby shrieked as soon as Mr. Wade had left. You did it. You found out I was dating you both, and you cooked this all up. You and Melanie. The twins gazed at each other innocently. We've been home all night with our friends, Bobby, Samantha said meekly. We haven't been out for a minute. Melanie suddenly climbed to her feet. I warned you, she said in a low voice. This is what you get for the way you treated Bree and Samantha, and for the way you treated all of us. You're not Bobby the man. You're Bobby the total pig. The girls in the room, the ones Bobby had dated and dumped, burst into loud cheers and applause. Dating both Wade twins was the last straw, Kimmy said angrily. That's when we got the idea to pay you back, Ronnie added. I had so much fun driving you crazy, acting like a wild girl, Samantha said with a grin, making you think Bree and I were so different. You got a little carried away with the shoplifting, Bree told Samantha sternly. Yeah, I guess, Samantha replied, but the look on Bobby's face. Hope you like your surprise party, Melanie cut in, unable to hold back a gleeful laugh. This is the best party I've ever been to, another girl exclaimed. Nice outfit, Bobby, someone else remarked. Everyone laughed some more. You mean you don't like me? Bobby cried in disbelief. His question was greeted by gales of scornful laughter. Bobby started to protest, but then he realized there was no use. Defeated, he turned and slumped out of the room, their laughter ringing in his ears. After school a few days later, Bobby started toward the music room. He was halfway there when he remembered he no longer had a band. Paul had found another group to play with, and Arnie had finally realized that he had no sense of rhythm, and had sold his drum set. Bobby headed toward the exit, but stopped short as Bree and Samantha hurried up to him. Here, Bree said. She slipped a small envelope into his hand. Bobby raised the envelope and quickly read the handwritten message on the back. Twin sisters don't have secrets. We both knew everything from the very start. Bye. Bye, Bree and Samantha called. They waved to him and disappeared around the corner. Bobby sighed and tore open the envelope. Inside, he found a small paper temporary tattoo, a blue butterfly. This has been a Nightfall Audiobooks production of Double Date by R.L. Stine, a Fear Street novel, Book 23. Hi, this is Chris again with Nightfall Audiobooks, and thank you very much for joining me for my production of Double Date by R.L. Stine from the Fear Street line. This book is one of my favorites. It is so much fun. I had forgotten that they were cannibal ants and not red fire ants, and that they were so much bigger. I had forgotten about Bobby and Mr. Wade going back and forth, and Mr. Wade getting more and more upset at the end there. Oh my god, it was so much fun to do this. I'm glad that I read this novel. Bobby doesn't win in the end. He loses. He gets confronted by all of the girls he ever dated, And what an ego on this guy. This is insane. Bobby Newkirk is Gaston from Beauty and the Beast. If there is a reflective surface, he is checking out his hair and get the chicks and stuff. This guy's nuts. I had forgotten about David Metcalf and Corey Brooks showing up at Pete's Pizza, and David gives Bobby a hard time. That was great. I love David Metcalf. And that means that even though we're at book 23 in the series, that this group of kids must graduate and move on. Around book 30, 35 or so, you get a whole new group of kids, and new stories get to be told. Anyway, this was long overdue. I've been wanting to do this for a very long time. This was a request. You know who you are. Thank you very much for requesting this. I have not had a reason to do this in a long time. And, sometimes after you read a very difficult book, you just need something really, really satisfying and easy and fun to do. And Double Date is that. Do I recommend this? Yes, absolutely. 10 out of 10. It's a lot of fun. There's a lot of mind games. All the girls that Bobby Newkirk dated got in on it. They all decided to come over. They all decided to give him a hard time at the same time about it. This is great. What a good way to knock down a cocky guy a few pegs. He needed it. Hopefully he learns from his lesson and treats women a bit more fairly in the future and doesn't think that he can just date whoever he wants because I'm Bobby Newkirk and I have a huge ego. Having a lot of confidence is one thing. Going through girls like this is another. And good on R.L. Stine for never introducing sex into the equation. Sex is alluded to in the Point Horror series, and sometimes it's mentioned in the Fear Street series, but it's never covered. At best, making out is covered. And that's good because you really don't want someone like Bobby with his reputation to be going through the school giving everybody he can find an STD. That's a real thing. That's an actual concern. I would have that concern if this was happening to my daughters. So what should I do next? I don't know. Write me an email, nightfallaudiobooks@gmail.com. I am on YouTube at Nightfall Audiobooks. Feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. I love seeing your comments. I love talking to you guys. Occasionally I do polls, so stay tuned. Maybe something will come up. I also have a Patreon page, patreon.com/nightfallaudiobooks. Any help will be greatly appreciated. So tell your friends, tell your mom, tell whoever you think would like to listen to me tell them tales from R.L. Stine. Thank you very much for listening, and I'll see you next time.